Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. Today we're having a look at the third and final San Martin from the big unboxing that we did a little while ago. As usual, in case you've missed that, I'll put a link in the corner of the screen if you want to check that video out. Like I mentioned in the first two videos, just when you think that San Martin run out of watches from the Homage catalog, they always seem to come up with one more. I couldn't find a particular name for it like the other ones, like the Vintage Diver or Explorer Climbing editions, just the model number, which is SN012-G. That being said, this to me looks a lot like the Helm Vanuatu, only with small differences, so I'm just going to call this the Vanuatu Homage. If you're not familiar, for context, the Vanuatu is a micro brand, is coming from a micro brand that was launched a couple of years ago, and believe it or not, I think that the waiting list for this is a little over a year for their watches. So I can see why San Martin decided to go for this given the waiting time. Out of the three watches that I unboxed, I feel that this is the best price versus spec ratio, and I actually believe that are almost identically priced, like the Vanuatu at around $275. While we're on the topic, I also have a discount code, WWG. I'll bring that up because it's still valid. I'll take $20 off with every $200 spent. I'll put that on the screen and in the description box below. And finally, this watch has been provided to me by the Aliexpress platform, where you can find pretty much everything that you can think of for the purpose of this review. I don't have to return it, so bear that in mind as the video goes along. I'll leave links down below to the watch and the Aliexpress store where I got this from in case you want to check their other offerings. Next to the subscribe button, don't forget to subscribe to my channel in case you don't want to miss any future content. Now, let's get into this review. If you're a fan of the Helm Vanuatu and don't feel like waiting a full year or probably more for their watch, San Martin has you covered, and you can go on their website right now or on the Aliexpress store and you can get this right now. One of the reasons, in my opinion, the Vanuatu takes so long to be available is because it's also ISO rated, and you also get a certificate. The San Martin, on the other hand, is not ISO rated and you don't get a certificate. But in reality, I believe that not many people buy their watches to take them diving. Also, I think San Martin do test their watches on site, so personally, this makes much more sense to me because you don't get that many opportunities to do water sports, especially if you're like me in Ireland, given the weather, or if I'm on holiday. I don't usually take the watch in the pool with me. So again, this is another step away from the typical Homage catalog that I keep bringing up, and the typical Homage catalog that I feel that all AliExpress brands revert to. Let's go through some dimensions. We have a case diameter of 40 millimeters, but the bezel protrudes out a little bit and it takes it up to 41. We have a lug-to-lug of 50.5 millimeters, but the engineer bracelet links point downwards and they fully articulate, and it hugs the wrist quite beautifully. A thickness of 13 millimeters with a flat sapphire crystal, which I think was the right choice here. More on this later. I have a lug width of 20 millimeters and a weight sized up for my 6.3 inch wrist of 154 grams. So my conclusions here, I think that they made the right choice to go with the flat sapphire crystal, since it doesn't add to the thickness, but that can also be due to the fact that the Helm has a flat sapphire crystal to my knowledge, and this is homaging that. It carries the weight very, very well, and it doesn't feel like it's 154 grams. It just feels like a great solid tool watch. The case has an all brushed finish with sharp angles, no chamfered edges here or anything, which look good and sort of suggest that this watch is made for rougher environments, I would say. And that would also hide scratches very, very well. One thing I want to point out here is that I'm not sure if they listened, but the brushing on the case finally matches the brushing pattern on the end links, which results in a very nice consistent finish and give it, in my opinion, a very elegant tool industrial look. Over at the 3 we have the screw down crown protected by a couple of crown guards, and yes, I am proud to say that this has the hexagonal logo on the crown. Also superb grip on that crown, and the action is so smooth. This screws in from the first attempt every single time, so very well machined thread, I would say. The screw down crown also aids with the 200 meter stated water resistance paired with the screw down sterile case back, which should be more than enough for all your daily activities, or in case you want to take this diving, maybe you're one of those people. If I were to moan about something here, it might be the fact that despite it doesn't have any chamfered edges, I think that the angles might be a bit too sharp, especially at the lugs. The bezel on this is 120 clicks, unidirectional with a black ceramic insert with lumed markings, and again we have the same cog-like grip, which offers excellent grip, by the way. No backplay whatsoever, but the action feels a little hollow and not as premium as their other watches, or at least as we're used to from Saint Martin. I wouldn't call it bad, again, just doesn't follow their natural standards. It also has the same fine brushing, which aids with the grip and adds more into the tool-like aspect of it. Now let's move on to the dial. This is covered by a flat piece of sapphire crystal with purple air coating, and I know that they never specify how many layers of air coating they add to this. This is probably the first crystal where you can actually see the AR. This comes in two variants, white fully lumed and a matte black. As much as I really appreciate a lot of lume, fully lumed dials are not actually my thing, and I opted for the matte black variant, which I much prefer because in my opinion you can match this with more things. Nothing is applied here, everything is printed and everything works. I love these square/rectangular indices, and I think the all printed dial was the right choice to fit in the whole theme of the watch. They offer this only with the printed logo, and I think that an applied one wouldn't have worked here, as the hexagon applied logo is relatively tall and it just wouldn't have fit in the whole flat look of the dial. Another thing that I particularly liked is the writing in red at the 6, and this time we also have a complementing accent on the seconds hand that balances it out. The sword style hands are also done in a brushed finish like the rest of the watch, and they're also filled with the same BGW9 lume that can also be found on the bezel insert and indices. And speaking of lume, one thing that I particularly like is that we have the same shade of blue on the insert, hands and indices, as it should be, since they're claiming that this is a BGW9. And just like the vintage Tudor Homage, even though they're printed, the glow is actually very, very good. The bezel is the first one to go, but for a dive watch, this definitely falls within the required category standard. The movement powering this is the Miyota 8315, which is a replacement version of the 8215. Now, according to the internet, this is a hacking and a decorated version of the 8215, which has a new mainspring with an increased power reserve of 60 hours. So in your face, Seiko. The funny thing is that on Aliexpress, on the website, they don't mention this. It says 8215 in the spec sheet. So I'm not sure if this was a mistake or what happened, but I am not complaining. Apart from the new mainspring and the increased power reserve, this is still the same movement. It still has 21 joules and it still has 21,600 beats per hour. Another thing to mention here is the fact that this movement also has a date function and the watch doesn't, and that means that we have the ghost position. Normally I would say that I love the functionality of a date complication, but I'll let it slide this time because of the surprise of that was the hacking, and also that I think that this looks better without the date function, because a date window just might break the dial design and it just wouldn't fit in the whole thing. Last thing to cover here, as usual, the bracelet. This is a 20mm lug width, tapering down to 17 at the clasp, and it's safe to call this a super engineer, I guess, with the trademark screw pins to adjust, which I can say that you will have no problems with. We also have a fully milled clasp with double pushers to release, and this is the same clasp that you would see in my 62 mas video chrono homage. In case you missed that, again, I'll put a link in the corner of the screen. To go with this clasp on this bracelet was the right choice because it does suit the slightly chunkier, thicker look of the engineer bracelet. Plenty of micro adjust, 5 to be exact. You should be able to get a right fit with no issues, and it also has the third matching hexagon logo, so woo! Well done, Samartan. I genuinely have no complaints about the bracelet here, and even though I say this in every video, I've never been let down by Samartan when it comes to bracelets. As final conclusions here, guys, this is a well-made watch, and there is nothing new or unexpected about that, but is it just that? Is it just a well-made watch? Considering the fact that this homage is something that's not that known and it's not an actual original design, one might feel that this will be forgotten sooner than you might expect. Also, it's a San Martin and you get the quality, but this is still $300 for that Myota, and many people at this price range would prefer and consider other movements like the Seiko NH series, which is considered a superior movement, despite the fact that it still has the recent improvements, or as a matter of fact, probably the 9000 series also from Myota, or the PT5000. Now you can still use my code and get some money off, which I'll leave again in the description box down below. What I'm trying to get at here, guys, is that I feel that this feels or looks a bit lost. I'll still consider this as the Helm Vanuatu Homage, and I'll just leave it at that. Guys, I hope you enjoyed my review of the Samartan SN012-G. Leave me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please click a like, subscribe to the channel if you don't want to miss any future videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!